Greetings folks, in this video we're going to be talking about the new Runcam2 4K version. This is a product that really interests me. I think it's destined to become one of my core bits of gear that I take every time I go flying. I have been flying with it a bit and I'm just stunned by the sharpness, the resolution, the angle of view. They are all perfect for my uses, which is mounting on a plane somewhere so that we can get lots of the plane in the view and beautiful scenery as well. It excites me because it has all the resolution and quality of the Runcam 5 in the form factor of the Mobius. My onboard camera of choice up until now has always been the Mobius. It's given the best image quality without the resolution and ultimate quality, I suppose, but the video results were the most pleasing from this camera. Better than the Runcam2 original version, I thought, mainly because of the angle of view of the lens, but also the quality of the colours as well. Here is the little beauty. It sells for about $100 US. Mobius is about $70 to $80, I suppose, so it is a little bit more expensive, but well worth it. It has the same removable battery as the Runcam 2 and the Runcam 3 and 3S, so they're all interchangeable, which is fantastic, something that the Mobius doesn't have. It has a Sony 8 megapixel sensor, which is good quality stuff. FPV out, Wi-Fi, can be powered externally from 5 to 17 volts. 4K 30 frames a second, 2.7K 60 and 50 frames a second. The 50 is very good for me because I'm in a PAL environment. And you can also change the field of view from 155 degrees to 142 degrees and 130 degrees, and it doesn't seem to lose much image quality at all. There is one thing that is not as good as the Mobius, and that's the audio level. The audio quality is okay, not fantastic. But the audio level is reasonably low. That makes it quite good for an onboard camera because the wind noise isn't going to be clipping at maximum volume. It sort of records it at a reasonably nice level. And if you talk kind of close to the camera from behind or the side or whatever, then it gives a reasonable audio quality. There it is. It's almost identical to the Runcam 2, slightly lighter orange colour to tell them apart, and we have the little 4K print on there, and we get padding box. We also get a box of extras. We get a kind of a carry case for it, or a mounting case with a tripod insert and a spare lens hood there. We also get the charging and data cable there, and crucially we also get the TV out and power cable that we can use. You can operate the Runcam from a flight control board using this white wire here. So in theory you can use this for FPV and HD recording at the same time. I will check that out. So power button here, gives a beep, turns on, and we get the blue light, and it seems to be set to auto record straight off. Push to stop recording. Wi-Fi button here, short press to turn the Wi-Fi on. We should get a flashing light here to show that the Wi-Fi is waiting to be detected by the app. I'll show you that in a minute. Push again to turn off. Push and hold to change mode to photo mode. Push and hold again to change it to on-screen display mode, I think that is. That'll show up when we connect it up to a screen. Push and hold again. So we have a little leash catch there. Rear door, we can take that off. We have micro USB plug there and SD card there. One thing to note with the SD card, you definitely need a U3 speed card to keep up with the video in anything above 1080-60. And it shows up as sort of stuttery video, or it looks like your video is recording at 15 frames a second if you haven't got a fast enough card. I tried initially with a SanDisk Ultra card, which is only U1. That wasn't fast enough. It's stuttery video. Changed to a U3 card, and now the video is nice and smooth. We can pull the battery out. There we go. 850 milliamp 1S LiPo battery. So let's have a look at the app now. I have the Wi-Fi on. We're just waiting for the network to show up here. Runcam, there it is. Connect. That's all good. Runcam, connect your camera. Make sure you've picked the right camera from the list. It's Runcam2 4K. There we are, we're connected. So first thing, you can change from photo to video. Video. Let's go back to video and check out the resolution. So this is 4K 30 frames a second, and here we can choose the bitrate as well, 60 megabits per second, 50 and 40. 2.7K, we can choose 60 frames a second or 50 frames a second. That's pretty cool. 1080, we can do 120 frames a second or 60 frames a second. We can also adjust exposure there, saturation, sensitivity, shutter. You can choose a 30th of a second if you want to make sure you have a little bit of pleasing motion blur. I haven't really played with that yet, but I should do that. Contrast, sharpness, white balance choices, auto, sunny, etc. All the other ones. Have to play with that and find out. Flip the screen upside down if you want to. Field of view. I'll show you the wide, the medium and the narrow field of view. And you have to click the tick to accept them, otherwise it just ignores your choice. And metering. There we go. So that's the app. We have some other settings here. You can auto sync the time, date stamp, feedback, auto shutdown, auto record. So I'll turn that off. The volume, as I said, the volume is very low. I've got it turned up as high as possible. It's still usable, but not as high a level as the Mobius loop recording and the other stuff as well. Format the card, all that sort of stuff. This is firmware version 1.1.6. Now I've linked it up for FPV. I've soldered up the breakout cable, connected to a little video transmitter there. Turn it on. There we get on the screen, and that tells us we're in 4K 30. We have battery down there. Tells us the Wi-Fi is on, Wi-Fi off. Change mode. That's stills mode and on-screen display mode. So now we can make some choices. Change the resolution. We can do this in the FPV goggles. TV out. Change format. 16:9 or 4:3. That looks stretched out, doesn't it? Little bit of delay. Micro SD card, what we can do, card info, gives us the capacity there. We can format the card. General, what do we got here? The light frequency, volume, control mode, feedback beep, auto power up, auto shutdown, and reset and language. That's pretty cool. So delay, I'm sure, yeah, there's a reasonable amount of lag. But we'll try flying with FPV and see how it feels. So we're on 4K 30 frames a second. We're about to go and do some flying at my sloping site. Not actually a sloping day, but nice and calm anyway, so we'll fly here over the water. See how the Runcam2 4K works. I'm going to try some FPV now with the Runcam running the FPV connected into an iNav board here. It's being powered by the iNav board, 9 volts. Taken the battery out. So that is now recording. So let's get our FPV feed going. Alright, let's go. Sorted now. So not so good for FPV, especially with the wide dynamic range. You can see the ground goes quite dark if we point it up towards the sun. It is quite of a low harsh sun. But it does the job. And we're getting the HD recording. Lovely 4K 30 frames a second. Some diagonal lines. A bit of interference because we're directly over my head. Heading out there a bit, we should get better reception. The colours are nice. The image looks great out this way. Not so good when you're looking straight into the sun. Yeah, it's not too bad though, really. I'd like to know what happens when we fill the card, but I'd rather not do that up in the air, So I'll test it out later on. There is a white wire in the breakout cable that allows you to control the video and photo on and off using a flight control board, and in the manual they give you the instructions for Betaflight and a Speedy B board, but I haven't worked out how to do it with iNav. It's not a PWM control because it doesn't work from a receiver, but I'll work it out anyway. It might be a soft serial sort of thing. So I'd prefer to use this than a hybrid or any of the 4K splits. Much tougher, much more useful for me, I think. Kind of does the same job. All right, bring me to land. Yeah, that's okay, not too bad. I could use that. So there we go, the Runcam2 4K, really nice camera. It's going to become my go-to onboard camera now. It's going to replace the Mobius. I love the image sharpness and the extra resolution and the extra frame rate and the higher bit rate as well. I just did a little test to see what happens when the card fills up while you're on FPV view, and it just pops up a little memory full screen which disappears straight away, so it's not going to interfere with your flying experience at all. And if you power it from your flight control board or your flight battery, you're never going to run out of battery, so can use it as an FPV camera. I would like a little bit more wide dynamic range. I was just using it on the stocks image settings. You could fiddle with that, reduce the contrast, increase the brightness to get a little bit more detail in the ground. It does go dark when you're looking at bright sun, like most cameras really. I did notice one little oddity. You have a maximum of 4 gigabyte image clip size, and when it continues on to the next clip, it seems to be missing about a second of footage, which is a bit irritating really. It's only really a problem if you're doing long recording, like greater than 8 minutes or so on 4K. I did have loop recording turned off, so maybe if you're on 5-minute loop recording, you wouldn't lose that second of footage, but I'll investigate that anyway. Right after this, I'll upload some unedited 4K footage, 4K 30 frames a second, so you can have a look at the full 4K quality. This video has been downscaled to 1080 for YouTube and for editing and that sort of stuff, so it doesn't really show you the full potential of the 4K. But the 4K image quality is just stunning. Really nice camera. Highly recommended from me. Thanks for watching.